Welcome to the morning show. It's Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. It is also the penultimate installment of Morning Spring for the week. And just like yesterday, Monday began and it is Thursday. We've counted 4 whole days in the week. It's a beautiful morning. It's quite delightful to be here again and to have you join us for this installment. What we do for you here is to enlighten you and bring you abreast of deep conversations and of what is going on around you politically, economically, scientifically, and all realms, as especially as they make the face of the dailies. Newspaper review comes fast on the show, and then we'll move to quality analysis on the other segments. My name is Timmy Tope Ajijola Oluwala. Good to have you join us. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning, Tope. How do you do? And hope you had wonderful, a restful night rest, by the way. And I hope the fasting is not catching up on you. Because yesterday I discovered that it's showing on some people's faces already. The people that you get to think they are those hyper, just went on a low. And
well, I did read somewhere that the first day hits different.
Yeah,
it's been like a year before you have, for Muslims, before you had that much big, let me say, serious fast, except for those who do it for special, prayers and all. But yes, it does hit different.
The body will be wondering what's going on.
What's going on? This is different from
exactly. It's a beautiful morning. Welcome to Morning Spring and Western Spring Television. Just as Stock has said, we are set to, keep you informed, and we go for insightful conversations that matter to our daily lives. And today is not going to be different from that. We're here to get the needful done and to keep you abreast with happenings in our world here in Nigeria and in the global space. The pleasure to be here again this morning. My name is Olufemi Alagbe, set to start business for the day. Good morning.
All right, so many things are still happening around us. As we always say, people die. I mean, just yesterday in Plateau, there was a mining, incident, and about 33 persons lost their lives. Though it was political loss, from a clash from the Congress.
That was the APC Congress, yes. where the governor denied. There was an allegation that it was...
He distanced himself from it.
Although I heard the report that the meeting was meant to be at 10, but it was postponed to 2 p.m. so that he can be a part of it. So the whole back and forth and all that.
Right.
But it's really a sad one that, things like this is resulting into loss of lives. Nobody is entitled to die violently. It's sorrowful. Yesterday we were saying something about, everybody will die. But I wanted to make a point that even if, yes, everybody is meant to die at a point in time, but dying violently is a worse form of death. And it hits differently, especially to the loved ones of those people. Those who even die peacefully, there is a pain that the loved ones will feel. Let's not talk of having to die a very painful, like a worst form of death. That's how I get to see it. And it's terrible. It hits differently. And I just hope that people who go through such a thing, those who have gone through it, they get comfort where necessary. And we get to have a curb, a stop of all this kind of violent deaths, actually.
And then it is said, especially for the APC, that the leader of the party in the state is the state governor, especially if that's the ruling party at the time in that state. But it's bad enough that we have deaths around us, insecurity resulting from banditry, kidnappings, and all of those kinds of deaths. But when you find people dying as a result of their political alliances, political allegiance to a particular party or loyalist of a particular person, and they die, it just shows that politicians really do not have allegiance. Politicians do not care beyond what is before them, beyond how much they can see their losses. I mean, I'm just trying to say, the point is that Ayedatiwa, who's the governor of Ondo State at this time, was quick to distance himself from the happenings. You are the governor of the state, first. 2, you are the leader of that party. Thirdly, you know, you're like a figure, a big figure for them. But whatever it is, distancing yourself from such, I mean, in court, the categorical distancing, I don't think that it's necessary. You're a leader. You should take responsibility for something.
Like you should be in the forefront, and
it is your party. And so it's just a wake-up call to people who die unnecessary deaths, I must say, for parties, for politicians. They easily distance themselves from you. I don't think it was shed a tear yesterday, except for the loss of human lives. I don't think it was shedding a tear to be because, oh, this person is a martyr for dying for whatever he believed in politically, you know, whatever. So we just need to do things better and differently. If we're divided along political lines, let's be sane with it. Let's not lose our lives in the process. You know what they say, no matter what you do, don't die.
Exactly. And, so, which is a wake-up call to especially political thugs who, you know, you go all out for these politicians. The thing is, all they want from you is what you can do for them. Once you're gone, you're forgotten. So I think it's very important that we get to value our own lives. Very important, because whatever it is, whatever belief you have with the political alignment that you have, value your own life. It's not worth it dying all because of struggle in court. So as they value their lives, you too do well to value your own life. You are important and valuable to them as long as you are alive. So stay alive to remain valuable.
Well,
very important.
Exactly. Stay alive to be valuable. Stay alive to live long, to reap the dividends of what you're fighting for.
Of the democracy you're fighting
alliances, you know, are. But then all of those issues, you know, are still there right before us. And yesterday, the president assented to the bill, the electoral amendments bill, and all of that. So, and then, you know, some INEC commissioners, you know, ex-INEC commissioners are beginning to talk. Most vocal of them is a Mark Igini or something. You know, Igini, let me just use a surname for that. And he has said that, you know, the president shouldn't have assented to, you know, to that and all of this. But we've been seeing, you know, conversations around it. People have had different forms of conversation around it. The dissatisfaction that some Nigerians have, the fears ahead for the elections, the polls, and then also the fact that some lawmakers as well, you know, do not seem to be placated, you know, with the result or the finality of the decision that was taken. But then you'll win some and lose some at the end of the day.
Definitely. And I just think that it's very important that clarity is brought into this so that it should not look as if whatever it has been assented to is like in the interest of the National Assembly or the current administration. You know, yesterday when we were having that conversation where we had Comrade Dr. Ologun talking about the issue of IREF not working, can work without internet. You see the clarity where he puts in there saying that, the uploading still needs internet, you know, and the whole back and forth. But Nigerians are more particular about it doesn't need this thing and all that. So we just need a clear explanation in some of those things so that Nigerians will not be arguing blindly. You get the point? So that everybody will understand, okay, this is where we are. All right, what is the way forward? How can we get things done better? So that subsequently, even if it will, there are permutations and compromises we'll need to take for the 2027 elections. Let arrangements start. Let it start from now. We don't have to wait for after 2027 elections before we get to, you know, start making adjustments and arrangements for the next election. Now is the time to start making preparations so that we can be ready long time ahead before subsequent elections, even if it's not going to meet up with this coming general elections in 2027.
All right, this administration does know that. I mean, from the get-go of the administration, they began permutations and consultations and alliances, you know, ahead of the 2027 election. So they do know that preparations should be made ahead of time. But it just does seem that their reality is not the reality of Nigerians. What they take as priority is not what is priority to Nigerians. Nigerians want things to be and democracy to be about them.
Exactly.
And which is rightfully, rightfully
yeah.
so. But then this administration has decided to put politics forward. That's what we see all of the time. But we hope that we can, move past all of these little gains and get to the full, get into the true picture of things and be on the big stage as well with the big players who are putting, real things, economy, education, health, ahead of every other thing. These are the things that matter. At the end of the day, every Nigerian, politician or not, you need the economy to thrive.
Exactly.
You need health to work. And that's why you see them flying out of the country at every single headache, every single stomach ache, every single thing. So it just doesn't need to work. Institutions need to work.
Exactly.
So that we can have a better Nigeria, so that all the insults that are being meted out to Nigerians at every, you see, even small countries now, the body language, the stands, and all of this. Nigeria does have what it takes to be on the big stage and with these players. But we are mismanaging our resources. We don't have the right priorities and all of this. Then we're hoping for better days.
Well, either the ruling party or the opposition party, you are first a Nigerian before every other thing. So that's why it's very important that we prioritize the interest of Nigerians, because one day you will still leave that office and you become a Nigerian. And that's when you start collaborating. They are not doing it right. It's easier to criticize when you are not in office. But when you get there, that reminds you of the part where you said leaders are not open to criticism. You are good at criticizing when you are not there. But by the time you get there, you just build a thick skin, whatever they say. All I want is I'm doing well, praise me and all that. But regardless, we are Nigerians first. And either you're in the system or not, you are a Nigerian. One day you will live there. When you leave, then you come back to being a critic. Right. You should understand that there was a time you were there. So do it right while you're there now and get things better.
All right, that's the later conversation myself and Femi have had. We'll be going on this quick break. When we return, we'll move into the newspaper review segment. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show, Morning Spring as the show on Western Spring Television. It is time to look through the faces of the papers this morning. And we'll begin right here with the Guardian newspaper. And the banner headline says, 2027 credibility battle shifts to INEC as Tinubu signs amended Electoral Act. Tinubu signs amended Electoral Act. That's on page 6. All right, Electoral Bill 2026 Comprehensive Public Guide. Electoral Bill 2026 Comprehensive Public Guide. You can see that that picture right there. It says 7-day review. INC may review declarations under duress within 7 days. That's to the left side outside the circle. All right, let's or semicircle though. All right, let's check out some of the things that are in there. It says elite manipulation implication. Elite manipulation implication removes delegate-based BBC capture. Removes delegate-based block capture and reduces elite gatekeeping. And beside that, consensus safeguard that written consent required if unanimity fails, reverts to direct primaries. Digital result register, results stored electronically for transparency. The voting checks, votes exceeding accreditation cancelled. All right, and those are the implications. You can see some of the instructions right there going on so that you can be enlightened about how elections will go and some of the things that would, matter and those that would not. BVAS in law, electronic voter accreditation, BVAS is codified in law. And right beside that, electronic transmission. Electronic transmission mandated. Signed result sheets valid if network fails. Electronic transmission mandated. Signed result sheets valid if network fails. All right. So it's still very important to go through the electronic transmission.
Yeah.
But then, provided the network fails, the the result sheets.
Those signing it physically, that means having to sign on paper. Yeah.
Result sheets. That still is recognized.
Yeah, that reminded me of an interview I listened to. We're talking about when Nigerians were agitated. No, all we want is electronic, and we don't want anything paper signing, because even after the signing, in the process of transporting, let me use that word, the results to the final collation center, any permutation can still occur. I remember the person having that conversation. The guest on that show was saying, I think this is high time when Nigerians need to start coming out with their, their Wi-Fi, their hotspots, 4G, 5G, that if the at the election polls where the INEC official or the ad hoc staff is saying there's no network, they should on theirs and say, don't worry, I will hotspot you. Just make sure you upload the results. So it sounded funny, but at the same time, it buckles down to we doing necessary preparations ahead of time. We can, if this can happen in other countries without them having issue of technical glitches, it could be glaring that elections are done and clear to everyone that this is actually the winner. Why not in Nigeria? Why can't we have it that we can go over, we don't have to be debating on the issue of there could be technical glitches, because there's the thing, this more like what is happening now because of technical glitches. Some people are considering that as an option for that. Some people are saying we can overpass that. Why can't we just make necessary preparations? Buckles down again, just as I said, to we doing necessary preparations to overcome that. So for Nigerians, maybe you have to carry all your 4G, 5G together to the polling unit so that in case of glitches, you can have a backup. So I think at this time, just as we have a backup for the amendment law now, where you can sign on paper, so have backups also for your internet, so that in case of glitches, there is a backup internet availability to get to resolve all that too as well.
Well, I think that Nigerians still have, this thing about entitlement mentality that we have, it transcends and it's integrated into several other things. It's not only Nigeria that has this this thing about, I want to win this election and I must win it. It's my turn. All those statements or all those stances, the posture, mentally, physically, the posture about, I should be the one to win it. Don't you see it?
Well,
I mean, all those things, because still talking about internet, all of the things around, this. In Africa, it's an endemic. I mean, you see, the Tanzania did have this blackout thing, and one other African nation that had their election earlier in the year, can't remember, which. It was also the thing that stopped the internet access. There was complete internet blackout and all of those. So the thing is, why would you do that? In other climes where you have people, that once you do something that is out of place, they've already taken to the streets. There is already chaos everywhere. And even in some African countries, there is chaos. But then, because they feel that there is nothing you can really do, you will only shout, and in the coming days, you go back to your houses. There is really no consequence to, this misdemeanor, this bad attitude, in leadership. And so it's just that thing with our mindset. And how it begins to change, I do not know. But I'm hoping that we get to that point. There comes a time where there will be a shift in our mindset. And I hope that we get to that point.
Which reminds me of that line, change begins with each and every one of us. So for the change to start, it starts with us right here in the studio and to your viewers at home as well. So let's get to imbibe the change, positive one, not just change as a nomenclature. Beyond saying it, we need to act it out.
All right, now going back to the paper, still on the Guardian newspaper this morning. Stronger penalties result falsification attracts minimum of 10 years imprisonment. Stronger penalties result falsification attracts minimum of 10 years imprisonment. Clear timelines. Notice 300 days before polling candidate submission, 120 days. Notice 300 days before polling candidate submission, 120 days. All right, mode of primaries. Direct primaries are consensus only. Indirect primaries removed. And those are some of the amendments done, and the ones that still remain exactly the same. So that's the comprehensive public guide that you need as a voter, as a citizen of the Nigerian state. Moving below that, Gencos rejects NLC's extortion claims, say sector battling 6 trillion naira unpaid bills. Gencos rejects NLC's extortion claims, say sector battling 6 trillion naira unpaid bills. Tinubu orders NNPC to remit oil revenue to FAG as rig count stagnates. Telcos reject objection to e-result transmission, insist on national coverage. Telcos reject objection to e-result transmission, insist on national coverage. You'd have thought the telecommunications sector would have, also wanted to distance themselves from this transmission thing, but they are also rejecting the objection to e-result transmission. More like, oh, we're capable. You should have told us. We know what to do. We could have helped. We could have stepped in. We could have saved the day, all of that. But that's where we are at the time. And some persons would ask, before lawmakers, they said they were working with data available to them, right? That's probably data that they've collated around election monitoring, some of the challenges, resulting to some certain outcomes in the election process, right? But some people would also ask, did you ever sit down with telecommunications operators or, really have that dialogue on possible projections, if they could or they could not, if they had the capacity or not? People would ask that question and say, you didn't even have that discussion with them. Also, you just concluded that internet will be bad. It will not be in some places. It cannot work now. This is 2026. We still, Nigeria still needs to wait to maybe some 3,000, another century though, before we can have, full coverage. I mean, we don't need to wait for a UK, a US to say, oh, we now have full internet coverage, or we use the internet for everything we do. Before we step up, we could be ahead of that game. Do you not want that kind of life, Femi? Have you never thought, is there a thing that Nigeria will be the pace setter, where even the UK and the US will be behind Nigeria with that one thing?
We're looking up to the giants of Africa.
Exactly. That even the UK, the US, France, all of those countries, Russia, China will be, behind us. But, these are just probably wishes.
Well, maybe this is prophetic. One day it's going to come true, and the giant of Africa will indeed be the giant of Africa, and by extension the world.
Good. All right, FCT polls. INEC pledges e-transmission of results. FCT polls. INEC pledges e-transmission of results. It is the FCT local government elections in a few days, right there. All right, mixed reactions, protests trail Delta APC ward congresses. Mixed reactions, protests trail Delta APC ward congresses. All right, it's above the nameplate, just below the nameplate to the top strip of the paper. IPAC, OB, fly police clamp down, tear gas of protesters at National Assembly. Holy month, Tinubu, Obi urged spiritual reflection, commitment to shared humanity. Holy month, Tinubu, Obi urged spiritual reflection, commitment to shared humanity. Reps fault poor funding of security negligence. Reps fault poor funding of security intelligence. And those are the headlines on the face of the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, the second paper for review this morning. Let's check the Nigerian Tribune with the banner headline: Tinubu signs Electoral Act 2026, with a couple of writers there. Says our laws must grow with experience. New law alerts INEC February dates for presidential, National Assembly elections. Presidential National Assembly poll to hold in January 2027. That's coming from Abbas. Our outputs were painstaking, thorough. The Sakpabio amended Electoral Act may undermine transparency. Ex-INEC director. All right. Below that, we have our church attack. Witness tells court how cell phones analysis implicated alleged attackers. And below that, you have Tinubu signs executive order for direct remittance of all gas revenue to Federation account. All right, on health, below that as well, we have artificial sweetener put people at high risk of heart attack, stroke. That's coming from a study there, and you can find that full gist on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Just right beside there on the by the left, we have I have my eyes on Ogun 2027, says Lemo ex-CBN deputy. You can read that up on page 3. On the upper strip, the topmost part of the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, we have 33 miners die in a tunnel in Plateau. A very sad one there, with the rider FG closes sites, dispatches forensic investigators. And right beside that, we have 2 killed during Ondo APC World Congress, which are some of the things we were discussing earlier before we got to the review of the paper. So this is some of the headlines you can find on the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, a quick run through the Punch newspaper. Beside that nameplate, federal government seals Plateau mine after gas leak kills 37. All right, the Punch has, higher figures. Federal government seals Plateau mine after gas leak kills 37. The banner headline: Electoral Act 2026. Tinubu defends assent, opposition raises hell. And the rider, PDP, Labour Party raise red flags. Tinubu defies protests as APC predicts credible poll. As APC predicts credible poll. All right. Widow, late Nigerian boxer's family clash over estate. Widow, late Nigerian boxer's family clash over estate. 2 killed in Ondo APC Bloody Congress. 2 killed in Ondo APC Bloody Congress. Ramadan, Lent, Tinubu, Atiku, governors preach unity. To the top strip above the nameplate. ICPC grills El-Rufai after EFCC release. ICPC grills El-Rufai after EFCC release. FCT poll, 3,345 beavers deployed. Movement restricted. FX for businesses travels. Soars. FX for business travels. Soars by $366,000 to $672 million. Those are the headlines right there making the face of the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, moving straight to the Nation newspaper this morning with the banner headline: Electoral Act 2026 goes into effect. Just with the writers there, President signs reworked bill. INEC gets leeway to review election timetable. Elections can now hold in January. All right, just above that, mining tragedy. Alake orders closure of sites. Dispatches investigators. Check the full gist of that on page 3. Above the topmost parts there, failure to protect investors deterring FDI, says Tomley Johnson. APC holds World Congress nationwide. DSS arrest El-Rufai after release. by EFCC. JAMB register over 1.5 million for 2026 UTME. And just below the Nation newspaper this morning, we have this ex-UN chief orders to lead $2 billion Nigerian mining finance group. You can check details of that on page 7. And this is some of the stories you can find on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
Right, as we make our way to a last paper, the review for this morning. And right there, it says on Daily Trust newspaper, electoral law signed, transparency questions linger. Electoral law signed, transparency questions linger. It is time that we will have confidence in our system. No matter how good a system is, it's managed by the people, promoted by the people, and result is finalized by the people. In fact, for final results, you are not going to be talking to the computer. You are going to be talking to human beings who announce the results. President Tinubu says. All right. Below that, DSS detains Arufai as EFCC grants ex-governor bail. All right. DSS detains Arufai as EFCC grants ex-governor bail. All right, you can see people breaking their fasts already. Muslims breaking fast on the first day of Ramadan yesterday. And to the other side, Abubakar Abdullahi and Oyeka Chukwubi, you can see different places in Abuja and then in Nasarawa. People are breaking fast. Female banker jailed 10 years for fraud. 8 soldiers killed in terrorist raid. Right, skin bleaching exposes 168 million Nigerians to cancer, liver failure. And to the top strip of the paper, 16 months after federal government's free C-section launch, states lag. How 38 miners died in Plateau. Another Nigerian fighting for Russia captured in Ukraine. Right, look at that particular headline there. 16 months after federal government's free C-section launch, states lag. I wonder why when there is an order or there is a launch, at the end of the day, there will always, or there has always seemed to be some form of lagging. I'm talking about minimum wage and the fact that some people have still not begun to receive the the advance
minimum
payment or the minimum wage. But then these are the topics, these are issues that we still need to keep touching on every single time. Saying things, or saying something as it is. That's what we do on Morning Spring. Western Spring Television is known for saying it as it is. That's our motto right here. All right, that brings us to the end of newspaper review segment right this morning, Thursday, 19th February 2026. I'll be going on this break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us.